Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just back in with another lesson on Revelation 11. So this chapter is really the cornerstone to my whole teaching, and I would say even fundamentally my whole life at this point, is that, it's an incredibly important chapter because it's very unique in what I teach, in that these two men that are described here in Revelation 11 are the two men in Acts 1, 10 to 11. And so I was told that by God, and I haven't heard that from anybody else, and I never will, very likely at this point. And so that's the foundation of my quote unquote ministry. And I live and die by that, quite literally. And so if that ends up not being true, then, my entire ministry unravels. And then I would, recommend people, first of all, always ask God what it truly is. And then, figure out, who are these two men, because there's clearly an interpretation out there that's correct. And so again, every time I hear anybody even speak of Revelation 11, it's like comedy for me, but, you may not be at that place yet, but, maybe this will help, this extra bit. But Revelation 11 to me, has not happened yet at all. And so that's an important thing for anybody going through the book of Revelation, quote unquote, on your own, is just use common sense and decide, has this happened yet? Has there been even like an inkling towards any of these things happening? Is it being set up to happen, and any of that? And so I obviously believe that it's been set up, just by me knowing who these two men are is a form of the setup. But because I know that I was told that this chapter and chapter 16 are running in parallel. And so you'll notice they end in very similar ways, with an earthquake and hail and all that. So, but they're the ones administering those plagues, and not just those, any others that they want. And I'll read that. So that's what I was told, and that I did not figure that out on my own, because it was told to me in a specific day, at a specific time of the day too. So that's my testimony, and that's what I'm going to talk about here in Revelation 11, that the Bible's always consistent. Every valid testimony in the Bible, according to Revelation 19:10, has to involve the spirit of prophecy. And so there's no more of these days where you just say, oh, I did a missions trip and all that, and those are obviously good, like people who are doing it genuinely, like giving to the poor and all that. That's not a testimony. Okay, those are charitable works, no doubt. And then if they're done sincerely, clearly will receive rewards. But that's not a testimony of Jesus, because this is, and then I'll reaffirm that in Revelation 11, because the entire Bible is consistent. It's the same group of people saying the same thing, and they're not debating and arguing with one another like we see going on here on earth. Revelation 19:10, and I fell at his feet to worship him, and he said unto me, see thou do it not, I am thy fellow servant, and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Jesus worship God, for the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. Okay, and then we're going to get that reaffirmed to us here in Revelation 11. And so it's absolutely amazing. And so this is it. This is what I live and die on. And so if anybody has a different interpretation, or even believes that they're the fulfillment of this, then, my ears perk up. I'll, like, at this point, again, like I said, it's basically a joke, every other interpretation, but it's what my entire ministry rests on, because it's unique, and then it was told by God. It's not Mystery Babylon. You could figure that out. You don't need, it's not that deep, okay, or anything like that. And so I'm not saying it's not a precious truth, because it is. It's a powerful one, and it's very relevant, of course. But, this one is unique, and so if this doesn't happen, then, don't really take anything on my channel seriously, I would say, at all. But, if you do believe that this is true, and maybe this lesson will reaffirm it, then, this is going to happen, while I'm here. And that time's running out, which I'm thankful for. So just be aware of that. So these two men will be here, they'll be quote unquote exchanged for 144,000. Okay. And so 144,000 men being taken away from this earth, who have no guile in their mouth, according to Revelation 14, is basically a preliminary blow to the earth, because those are the truthers of all truthers. And so the earth will lose a lot of their truthers, and so it's not only them, because there's a group after that gets sifted called the mixed multitude, who have faith in God, but that's a big blow. That's a lot of, quote, righteous power, energy that's being taken away, but then it's balanced out, with these two witnesses. And so that's what it says in Acts 1:10 to 11. And I believe that's going to happen while I'm here. Revelation 11, and there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood saying, rise and measure the temple of God. That's 144,000. It's a coded reference. And I did a lesson on that recently. Check that out. That temple is the elect, okay? And the altar, so that's a separate thing, and them that worship therein. So it's a group. It's talking about a group of souls. And that's in the spirit realm. So that's a coded reference to their salvation. Verse 2, but the court which is without the temple leave out. Now it's talking about the earth. Okay, and measure it not. So now God is going after the mixed multitude, a group that cannot be numbered. For it is given unto the Gentiles in the holy city shall they tread underfoot 40 and 2 months. So now we have a reference to 42 months. And so this God reminds us that this is a literal 42 months. Verse 3, and I will give power unto my two witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days. So why would it say 40 and 2 months, and then in the next give it in units of days? To remind us that it's a literal time. Okay. Clothed in sackcloth. That's in 11:33, talking about power. Okay, and this power is going to be over the entire earth. Verse 4, these are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. That's in 11:44. This is the balance of power, okay, after the elect are taken away. Okay, so that's the reference that I want to get into, is a Revelation 11:4. Where does that reference come from? It comes from Zechariah chapter 4. And so just the numbers are amazing to me, for me personally. That Revelation 11:4, these are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. God just makes it convenient, and it's linked, and it's amazing to remember and to link. Where is that? Well, it's in Zechariah 4, okay? Revelation 11:4, that's where the precepts are. And so this to me is just amazing about the Bible, just how it all links together. And so this is important, okay? So my position is that these are two actual men, and then they're Moses and Elijah, and then they're going to actually be in America for 1,260 literal days. And then that has to happen soon, because America's crumbling on its own. So that's my position. And so Zechariah 4 goes into more detail on that. And the angel that talked with me came again and waked me as a man that is awakened out of his sleep. Verse 2, and said unto me, what seest thou? And I said, I have looked, and behold, a candlestick all of gold with a bowl upon it, with a bowl upon the top of it, and its 7 lamps thereon, and 7 pipes to the 7 lamps which are upon the top thereof. So I want people to understand, the Bible is using language that it's only for a certain group of people to understand. Okay, so I was talking about a bowl on top. Okay, if you look at it, imagine a UFO with like a disc and then a little, space for the person to be, commanding it. It'll look like a bowl, okay, with a disc. And then these UFOs will have different lights around them, okay, to illuminate them. And so that's what it's being talked about. Okay, so just understand that. And said unto me, what seest thou? And I said, I have looked, and behold, a candlestick all of gold. So if you see a disc, okay, UFO with a bowl on top, and then a beam shooting out from it, how would you describe that? A person, again, they're using coded language on purpose, because this is supposed to be nonsense for everybody except the elect, because only the elect have obtained it. But you would say it's a candlestick, okay, with like a flat disc, and then you would say it has a bowl on top. Okay, and then so just know that that's what the Bible is describing here in Zechariah, okay? With a bowl on top of it, and there's 7 lamps thereon, so it's going to have lights, okay? And those lights, when they shoot down, they're going to look like candlesticks, okay? Let's say there are lights illuminating the outside, and 7 pipes to the 7 lamps, so they're going to look like pipes, okay? Which are upon the top thereof, okay? And the 2 olive trees by it, and upon the right side of the bowl, and upon the left side of the bowl. So these 2 olive trees now are what's being described here in Revelation 11:4, okay? And these are the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. And so when Christ returns, he's going to be returning with the 2 witnesses, okay? And then the whole sky is going to be covered with UFOs. And so those 2 olive trees are Moses and Elijah. And they're, I would suspect, in their own quote-unquote vehicles, okay? And so that's what's being described here. and the two olive trees by it, one upon the right side of the bowl and the other upon the left side thereof. So I answered and spake to the angel that talked with me, saying, What are these, my Lord? Then the angel that talked with me answered and said unto me, Knowest not thou what these be? And I said, No, my Lord. Then he answered and spoke unto me, saying, This is the word of the Lord unto Zerubbabel, saying, Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord of hosts. Okay, Christ is going to be returning with spiritual power. Okay, he's not going to be returning as a man. Verse 7, What art thou, O great mountain? Before Zerubbabel thou shalt become a plain, and he shall bring forth the headstone thereof with shoutings, crying, Grace, grace unto it. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, The hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of the house, his hands shall also finish it, and thou shalt know that the Lord of hosts has sent me unto you. So this is symbolic language in the last days of Christ returning with these two candlesticks, okay? And so to gather his elect, and then the two witnesses will be brought here. And they're always on his left and right-hand side. God, Jesus Christ's left and right-hand side is Moses and Elijah. Okay, those are the two highest spirits, even above the 144,000. And they stand before the God of the earth. Okay, and I'll prove that also in 1 Kings 18. But, I'll just finish this. So, I'll read verse 9 again. The hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this house. His hand shall also finish it. And thou shalt know that the Lord of hosts has sent me unto you. Verse 10, For who hath despised the day of small things? For they shall rejoice and see the plummet in the hand of Zerubbabel with those seven. They are the eyes of the Lord which run to and fro through the whole earth. Talking about these angels and these so-called UFOs. Okay. Verse 11, Then answered I and said unto him, What are these two olive trees upon the right side of the candlestick and upon the left side thereof? And I answered again and said unto him, What be these two olive branches which through the golden pipes empty the golden oil out of themselves? So, in the last days, during this time of the two witnesses, they're going to be preaching the gospel by angels, according to Revelation 14:6. And so these two olive trees, which is represented in Moses and Elijah, through the two golden pipes empty the golden oil out of themselves. Okay, during this time, the everlasting gospel is going to be preached. Okay, and so these are pure entities. Okay, needless to say, that's why they're wearing white, in Acts chapter 1. And so this is all a coded reference. Again, this is in the sequence, of course, Zechariah 4 and onwards. But these are two actual men, okay? They're not a nation. They're a bunch of retards and all that kind of stuff. There's nobody on the earth, okay? The reason also they cannot be anybody on the earth now because only the elect have obtained it and the rest were blinded. And so God was trying to deceive his elect, okay? So they're going to come from all different situations, okay? And I'm not saying that they're not righteous because they don't have guile in their mouth, but they're not able to do this, in this time because they've been deceived their whole life. And so obviously God undoes the deception, but they're not righteous to be able to administer these plagues, okay? And fundamentally they do not die because they're referenced in the very first chapter in Revelation 11:1. It's not funny, but like it can't be them because they're taken away. So, and no one else is, quote, qualified because the elect have obtained it and the rest were blinded, okay? According to Romans 11:7. So, it's not them, okay? And that would be the only other candidates. Not all of Israel is qualified to do this. Romans 11:7, What then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election have obtained it. And the rest were blinded. And so the elect are referred to in Revelation 11:1. So they're taken away. So just by elimination, we know that those two men have to be brought here. And so that's what's going to happen, by these two anointed ones, like it's written here. Then he answered me and said, Knowest thou not what these be? And I said, No, my Lord. Then he said, These are the two anointed ones that stand by the Lord of the whole earth. That's in verse 14. These are righteous entities. 1 Kings 18:15, And Elijah said, As the Lord of hosts liveth before whom I stand, I will surely show myself unto him today. So Moses and Elijah literally follow God everywhere, Christ everywhere. And even in the transfiguration, during the destruction of Sodom, Acts 1:10, of course, they literally picked him up, so to speak. And so wherever Christ is, those two souls are with him. It's his left and his right hand. Those are the disciples were arguing to be at Christ's left and right hand. He's like, you don't even know what you're asking. Okay. Because they're going to have to suffer, and then that's prophesied in Revelation 11. So, but one of them is Elijah. Okay. John the Baptist in the reincarnation. So just know that. Okay. So verse 4, these are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. Those are two men. Okay. And I believe they're going to be here soon. Verse 5, and if any man will hurt them, fire proceeded out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. So it's saying that they're going to be human, like they can be like pushed and shoved and all that, and then mocked and all that. So, but the penalty for hurting them is to die. Okay. So this is obviously a very, very spiritual time. And so it's not going to be just your everyday average preacher or pastor or prophet, because they're going to have power and God's going to make sure that their ministry ends, like at the timing, and it's fulfilled. And then there's no one's going to be able to stop them. Okay. That's the power that they have. If any man will hurt them. So again, they're not like angels where you go up and then you won't even be able to get near them because of their glory. It's like people are going to be able to go up and talk to them and be like, where'd you come from? And if any man will hurt them, so an individual could go and hurt them, okay, but we read what a system can do. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceeds out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed, okay? So this is how precious they are. You try and hurt them, God will kill them, okay? So that's what's going on. Verse 6, these have power to shut heaven that it rain not in the days of their prophecy, and have power over waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth. This is the amazing part. And to smite the earth with all plagues, okay? As often as they will. And if you read Revelation 16 again, this is in verse 6, okay? Those are the plagues, okay? This has never happened in human history, okay? Never has anybody, whether individuals or a group or anything, tormented the entire earth with plagues. Never. The entire earth, okay? And obviously they're administering judgments, okay, based on people who took the mark. That's the first plague. And so they're all righteous judgments from God, okay? God gave them this power. And so that's also a clue. You don't need it at this point. It's all funny, but like clearly none of this has happened yet. Verse 7, and when they shall have finished their testimony. Wait a minute, why does it say testimony? I thought they were prophets. This is why the whole Bible is linked up. Revelation 19:10, for the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. Okay, so it's the same thing. A testimony and prophecy are one-to-one. That's why I haven't heard anybody give a valid testimony in my life except mine. Okay, and so that's why I would highly consider considering what I teach, because no one's going to give one after except these two men. Okay, it's not Ken Hovind, it's not Rob Skiba, it's not Russian Viz, it's not End Time Future, not Tahar, anybody, or Deacon, nobody. Okay, and that's why, again, this is not to be arrogant in any way, but you have not heard a valid testimony in your whole life, and I haven't either. And I've looked, okay, I've looked everywhere, and you will not. And so that's why I have no issue saying that it's what I teach or the Bible's not true. That's the position that I'm in, because, like it said here in verse 7. The only valid testimony has to have the spirit of prophecy. So you have to understand the book of Revelation. You have to have a position on it. And when they shall have finished their testimony / prophecy, okay, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them and shall overcome them and kill them. So that also is proof that it's in the last days and has not happened yet, because that's a reference to Revelation 9:11. And they had a king over them, a one world government, okay, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath this name Apollyon. They had a king over them, one king. This is a one world government in the last days. Revelation 9:11 is prophesying that. And that we know that that's the case based on this narrative and everything, the ball earth, the money system, everything. And so the beast that ascended out of the bottomless pit, which is this one world government, I've done lessons on that recently. That's what the beast is. God's entire left-hand side. Because these two men are, hitting the whole earth with plagues, and to smite the earth with all plagues, now the earth is pissed off. Everybody. Okay. And they're all in agreement. Those are the two guys we got to go after. Okay. And they're going to make war against them. So God's entire left-hand side is going to be united against them and do this, and shall overcome them and kill them. So any man walking down the street, hey, what are you doing? And all this kind of stuff, they're not going to be able to do anything. But the beasts that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit are going to work together, okay, to kill them, but only after their 1260 days are done. Verse 8, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of that great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. That's a red herring. That's in America, okay? And so they're actually going to die, okay? And so they're everyday men, Just like the men that came with Christ in Sodom for that destruction, they were eating. Okay, they had like arms, digestive system and all that. Like if they're angels, why would they need food? Okay, it's like, yeah, pass me one of those GMOs. Okay, are you kidding me? No, God can make a body out of anything, even out of a stone, which is what the Bible says. So God is going to make two men appear in America for 1,260 days. And that's shocking to a majority of the world, even a majority of people that come by my channel, but not to me. Okay, I know that God can do anything. Okay, he can make an earth. Okay, it's like, what? I mean, it's not funny, but like, I mean, what, he can do whatever he wants. Okay, and of course he can do what he said he's going to do, because he's doing it right now with the mark of the beast. So it's like, it's not funny, but like, it's not that hard. Okay, for this God. So just know that. And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not allow their dead bodies to be put in graves. Just like leave them. Okay, they want to see what they've done. They're proud of their accomplishment. Okay, killing Moses and Elijah. So that's what the world's all about. That's what this world is about. God brings anybody here, they kill them. Okay, Most High brings his own son. Get out. Okay. Most High brings his son with all the saints. 1 Thessalonians 3:13. Let's fight against them. That's what this world's all about. Okay. Which team are you on? And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from God entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. They're like, oh, we're not dealing with everyday average men here. Okay. Okay. You can't put this, can't bury the evidence, so to speak. Okay. Then they know what's coming. Okay, then this is the final cleanup that's going to happen, because after they're taken away, their bodies are taken away because they're precious to God, America is just going to get burned. Okay, and so that's the first major judgment from the other nations are going to be set in array against America, because nobody in America God cares about at that point. His mixed multitude has been sifted out, and then they're the last two. And so everybody in America at that time is on God's left-hand side, just going to burn it. Okay. And then Christ is going to reappear with all of his saints, according to 1 Thessalonians 3:13, and all my sequence videos for this battle beginning in the Middle East. And it's not even a battle. It's just a cleanup, basically. And that's going to last 30 days, according to the book of Daniel. And that's the last of it. That's the last of the fighting. Verse 12, I'll read verse 12. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up hither. And they ascended up into a cloud. That's a UFO. And their enemies beheld them. Their enemies. Okay. So these two men have to be hated. They have to be an enemy. Okay. There's nobody on earth right now who's an enemy to the whole world. Okay. Are you kidding me? Give me a break. You'd have to do a lot of evil, according to what the world would say, in order for that to happen. A lot of plagues. And then that's exactly what they're going to do. If you read Revelation 16, they're going to start with people's bodies, sores, and then they're going to, harm the wildlife. And then they're going to turn the water to blood. Okay, that could even be just from the blood of the animals. Who knows? But like, that are killed, and then a heat wave and a power outage and that kind of thing. So they're rattling the earth, and they can do more, however they want. Okay, according to Revelation 11 here. And so, but they're going to do at least in Revelation 16. So it's going to be the earth is going to be literally rattled. Okay, tormented. The Bible says God is going to plead with all flesh. It's going to start with the flesh. Okay. And so that's what's going to happen. So now they're taken away. Okay, everybody in America is on God's left-hand side. He just burns it. Okay, same narrative as in Sodom and Gomorrah. He takes the righteous out first, and then he burns the place. Okay, and it was the same two. Okay, same two souls, Moses and Elijah, that accompanied him there. Verse 13, in the same hour there was a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, and the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the God of heaven. Who's a remnant? They have remnants in the Middle East, okay, in a distant region, according to 2nd Ezra. And so they see all this happening. They see men being taken away. Because again, we live on a flat plain, and then you can see all this stuff happening. And then that's how big the earthquake was. Okay, it's going to shake the earth, literally. And it's the greatest earthquake, like it says here. In the same hour, there was a great earthquake. And that's the same one in Revelation 16. And the 10th part of the city fell, and the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, and the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the God of heaven. The second woe was past, and behold, the third woe come quickly. The third woe was Christ returning with the elect and the saints. Okay, and that's the final cleanup. And the seventh angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world have become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and he shall reign forever and ever. That's the translation of kingdoms happening. And the 4 and 24 elders which sat before God which sat before God on their seats fell before their faces and worshiping God. We're talking about on these seats, they're on these so-called UFOs. Okay, that's the way they move. Okay, and that kind of thing. And so Christ is going to be returning with a whole host of people. Okay, whole host of souls. And it's going to be destruction. We're anxious for that. Verse 17, saying, we give thee thanks, O Lord God Almighty, which art and wast and art to come, because thou hast taken to thee thy great power and hast reigned. And so now God's entire left-hand side is on the earth, except for the remnant, like it said there, who were frightened and gave glory. They're going to be protected. You've got to read Book of 2nd Ezra to understand that. And so now he's killing everything. Okay, everybody on the earth is on God's left-hand side except the remnant. Verse 18, and the nations were angry and thy wrath is come. So this is the final woe, the third woe. And the time of the dead that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give us reward unto thy servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and them which fear thy name, small and great, and should destroy them which destroy the earth. That's in verse 18, 666. And the temple of God was open in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament, and there were lightnings and voices and thunderings and an earthquake and great hail. And so if you read Revelation 16, that's a sister chapter. This is what I was told by the Most High. Verse 21, and there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent, and men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceedingly great. And so that's the same hail that's being described in Revelation 11. Verse 18, and there were voices and thunderings and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. That's the same one in Revelation 11. And so after Revelation 16 comes Revelation 17 and 18. And then that's God describing what's about to be judged, which is America, Mystery of Babylon. And then it's going to get burned, okay, right after Revelation 16 is done. And so that's the sequence, okay? And so that's what I was told. And that's what I believe is going to happen very, very soon. So point of this lesson was just basically those two witnesses are two men, okay? And they're very, very precious souls because they stand before the God of the earth, literally, okay? Revelation 11:4, these are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. 1 Kings 18:15, okay, that's in 18 plus 15 is 33, okay? This is the righteous rulership, okay, leadership. So, and Elijah said, as the Lord of hosts liveth, before whom I stand, I shall surely show myself unto him today. And so this is oftentimes, not always, but Christ's second coming is signified by 33. And it's the same here. When I will surely show myself unto him today. Okay, and so this is when Christ returns, he's going to be appearing with the two witnesses, okay, and a whole host of angels. And then to gather his elect, okay? But the two witnesses are going to be brought here. And so that is the quote-unquote cornerstone of my teaching. And to me, the Bible doesn't make sense, you know, unless that is the case. And so it's very, very clear that we're going to see these two men soon. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.